again, so it doesn't really matter. Right, so welcome to another edition of London, Haunted London. It's just me and Adam here today, as you can see, so thank you for joining us. Adam, we're going to talk about locations this time, and we're going to talk a little bit about our favourite locations. I know in the first episode we discussed our favourite locations and what they are. I thought maybe we could go a little bit more in depth and explain to people the reasons why those locations are so good for us. So I know you want to talk about Kelvedon Hatch Secret Nuclear Bunker. So what is it about Kelvedon Hatch that appeals to you?
I think it's really mysterious and such a large place that no matter how many times you would go there, you would still find something different, you know? But, I mean, a lot of smaller places, you know, but this is just so vast. So you've got 3 floors that are going down underground. And they are vast. Each floor is very vast, you know, and there's so much, picking up on so many different things in that place.
So just for the benefit of people that have never been to Kelvedon Hatch, can you explain it a little bit about the layout and what's there, what it is?
Well, I think it was used as a Cold War radar centre. I mean, I knew it was used before then by the RAF, I think, but it's made a early warning system for any attacks on England. I think there's a few around the British Isles, but this one goes. You turn up. It's in the middle of nowhere in a field. You've got a little tunnel you walk through with a blast door, and then you've got 3 floors that go straight down. It's just full of so much equipment, all radar stuff and early warning systems, telephone communications, loads of systems down there. Okay,
and I mean, I know we've investigated Kelvedon Hatch before, and we had quite an interesting night. I know we were able to debunk a few things, and there were some other things that weren't quite, we couldn't quite work out. But what is it about the activity that draws you to that makes that location good for you?
It's just different to your normal haunted house or your church or your whatever, you know, because it's really different. It's weird to explain unless you've been there, really. But yeah, I mean, each floor is completely different as well. I mean, you've got that one floor that's got all the radar systems in, all the big plastic, massive maps up on, which I found quite interesting. But yeah, it's just different to your usual, you know, paranormal place.
I know when we were last there, I think the most active area for us that night was the tunnel. And I've never experienced darkness like what was down that tunnel.
Okay, that was also that room where we picked up on the camera that looked like someone peeking out. Remember, because we were standing in there, and you said that you thought there was someone standing behind you while we were talking and like walking around, seeing what places to investigate. So that was quite interesting. Next time we go there, I'd like to do a lone vigil in that little area.
In that back room, it was quite weird there, wasn't it? Because you sort of, although you're quite close to where everyone is, you're almost cut off because you're so far back in the bunker. I know there's lots of different stories about different things that have supposedly happened at the bunker, and because over time some of those stories have been developed, shall we say, and people make their own twist to these stories. But in terms of the activity there, what have you experienced in that bunker that's just made you go, wow, that is paranormal? What one thing have you experienced there that's made you sort of sit up and take notice?
Well, apart from the thing that we just said, where we thought there was someone standing behind you, there was also in one of the radio rooms on this one chair, I have my EMF meter, and it's just picking up some weird signal, and it kept spiking all the time. But it was in about 50 chairs there. It was only this one chair that it was spiking on, and we couldn't work out where we was getting the spike, because none of the equipment's got electricity going through it anymore. So we wasn't picking up that. But it just seems to be around this one chair. As soon as I moved away from the chair, it just spiked down. I just couldn't debunk it. It was weird.
No, I think that's in like the it's in the room where they've got all the banks of typewriters and
that's right,
telephones and stuff like that, isn't it? That's quite an interesting room in itself, because we've experienced activity in there before. Quite a bit of activity in that part of the bunker where we've had shadow people and we've had spirit board activity. I think that area itself could be considered quite active when you consider how many layers there are to that location. That is
looks
quite
like when we was there last time, we was in the far corner behind some walls that still had little viewing areas for that, and we kept hearing noises over in that direction when we was at the far end. Kept thinking there was people peeking out and looking around the pillars. So it was weird activity in that one area.
Yeah, I remember that investigation. It was quite weird, wasn't it? Because it was almost like we'd moved to one end and something could happen at the other end of the building. So we'd go to that end and then it'd happen
start over the other end.
Other end. Almost
as if
like
they were playing with us.
Yeah. So a little bit of, I don't know how much you know really, but a little bit of background with Kelvedon Hatch. I mean, you were right in that it was a Cold War radar post, like an early warning place, and it was used by the RAF before. Before that, the bunker wasn't there; it didn't exist. It was built purely for that purpose. The area itself is quite sort of active. I know people have experienced stuff in the general vicinity, in the woods that are nearby. I know there's on the grounds of Kelvedon Hatch itself, there's like a paintballing place, and I know people have said they've heard and seen stuff down there. For a supposed haunted location, is it somewhere that you would consider is good value for money?
Oh, most definitely, because you got an overnight one. You do an overnight, you get 8-9 hours in there. So it's, if you want to sleep, you sleep. But I didn't sleep. I just stayed up all night and just walked around all the time. As you say, you got so many layers there that you're going to pick up a lot more. Each time you go there, you'll find out more. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, I remember the investigation that we did there last year. Now it was there was a couple of things that happened that were quite weird. I know we had that typewriter noise, didn't we? That we think that we've debunked as being the door
wind, because it was a windy night, wasn't it? Rainy, windy night, so it could have been blowing down the tunnel and flapping the doors.
I mean,
singing.
The singing, we couldn't. I can't work that out now. I mean, if you put a skeptical head on it, I do know that in the cottage at the far end of the tunnel, they do have security staff that stay in there. But I don't know whether noise from that end of the tunnel, noise from that
that's got to travel a long. Yeah, but that's got to travel a long way down that. That tunnel's about 200, 300 meters long. So it's got to travel all through there, and then through some more doors.
Yeah.
It sounded like someone was humming, getting on with their work, like that.
Yeah, and that was strange. And there was a lot of people that heard that night as well, wasn't there?
I know. I remember you just looked at me and went, "What was that?"
Yeah, and then you're going first to go and have a look at it because I'm not.
Oh yeah, of course, I will do. Yeah.
So we had the humming and the singing. And the typewriter, like I said, we debunked. What about? I remember some of the investigators that were with us. They were going into the ladies' toilet, weren't they? Some of the girls that were with us, and there was something about the door, if I remember rightly, that
they said they couldn't open it or something like that, and then it just opened by itself. Or
Yeah, I think it was. I think Carly and Sarah both said that it was almost like there was someone on the other side, sort of holding it
yeah,
shut. Which again is something that I can't explain. There's no reason why that door, I mean, unless it was a faulty door lock, there's no reason why that door would
no, I can't work
go
that one out
shut.
either.
Yeah, so Kelvin Natch, great location. Like you said, it is in the middle of nowhere. It's not somewhere you can walk to or get public transport to quite easily.
That's another good thing about it. It's you're stopping all the outside interference doing anything with your investigation. So
yeah, I mean,
it's not going to be a car noise or something like that because you're like 150 foot underground, you know. So
yeah, and you're right in what you say. It literally is in the middle of nowhere, isn't it? I mean, it's
yeah,
the nearest road is a good half a mile away.
Yeah, exactly.
Least.
Yeah.
You got a hill one side, you've got a woods the other. Nobody has got any reason to be walking up there.
No.
I think the only fright you could really get from outside influence is when Mike, the owner, wanders in unannounced in the middle of the night.
Yeah. What's that?
Okay, so great, Kelvin Natch. I want to talk a little bit about the True Crime Museums down in Hastings. Is another location we've been to. It's set in the caves along Hastings seafront. It's been there for probably hundreds of years. I know it's been used. It's been recorded as being used as smugglers' caves. Supposedly, Aleister Crowley used the caves for occultist type stuff, and the army used it during the Second World War to house soldiers whilst they were training on the beach in preparation for D-Day. Adam, you've investigated the True Crime Museum.
Really enjoyed that.
What do you think about it?
I loved it. It was we were getting lots of stuff in there, and there's one section that deals with like there's I think there's a bathtub in there where people were murdered or something.
Oh, that's like the death chamber where you got the acid bath and the noose and stuff like that. Yeah,
we was getting lots of activity in there. And also there was that little corridor when you first come in.
Yeah,
that's where we was getting like shuffling there, wasn't we?
That's right. Yeah, I mean
that
night was one of the strangest and most active nights I've ever had. Even down to when we were doing the walk around with the lights on at the start, and there were noises. It sounded like doors closing. We were getting banging noises coming from out by the reception. And I know everybody went outside for a cigarette and left me and Katie in the reception area, and Katie saw someone walk across behind us into the museum, but there was no one in there because everyone was outside. It's one of the strangest locations I've been to. I mean, it holds quite a lot of artifacts that are linked to, you know, you got stuff in there from the Krays. There's stuff in there from John George Haigh, the acid bath killer. There's so much in there, and I know you were drawn particularly to the dogfighting. Dogfighting section.
I wasn't drawn to it. It was just that we were picking up tiny dog yelps, or like a puppy, wasn't it? That's what it sounded like. And then when we were leaving later that night, we just came across a dogfighting section, and it just was weird that all the night we was getting all these little yelps, and we didn't have no reason why we was getting doggies yelping through on our devices. And then all of a sudden we noticed that there was a dogfighting section.
Yeah, and that was strange, wasn't it? Very, very
Whether
strange.
those two are connected, we don't know. It's just like it was weird that it actually happened like that.
Yeah, and I mean there were some other strange things that night, and I think for me one of the strangest things, one of the things that I can't really work out why it happened, or put a logical slant on what happened, was when we got the name Louis Lefebvre come through on the Echovox.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the True Crime Museum is the skull of Louis Lefebvre. And for those of you that don't know, Louis Lefebvre was a French rapist and serial killer who was executed in France, and his skull's now in the True Crime Museum. That little room where we were, I think it's like their forensics room where we picked that name up. That was quite an active area as well, wasn't it?
Oh, but the lab, crime
Yeah,
lab,
the lab, yeah.
where you kept saying there was something over in the corner.
That was, I mean, I know the room can play on your senses a little bit because it's quite small. It's very dark in there. I mean, not as dark as the tunnel at Kelvedon, but it is very dark in there. And you've got those two wooden toilet doors at the end of the room.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, I've not experienced activity like that before.
Didn't someone touch you on the leg as well, didn't it?
There was something that grabbed my leg. I got that almost weird sensation like I was being stabbed.
That's right, I remember.
Like a weird, I mean, I've never been stabbed, but it was like a weird stabbing sensation. There were people that didn't feel comfortable in there. We saw things moving in there. The doors were opening and closing of their own free will.
That's the only place you can go to toilet as well. You have to go through that to get to the toilet.
Exactly, yeah,
That's the worst
exactly. It's one of those locations that will stick with me. I know we're going back there hopefully later this year once the virus lockdown and pandemic is all over and done with. But is there one particular part of the True Crime Museum? I know you mentioned the death chamber, but is there one particular part of the museum that you enjoyed more than any of the other parts?
No, I enjoyed the death chamber.
The death chamber. I think next time we're there, we'll probably have to get you lying down.
Also, as I say, the little corridor that we was picking up on some shuffling. Yeah, that was weird.
That was just at the start, wasn't it? They got like a fireplace there.
That's right, yeah.
We both walked in there and heard somebody walking behind us, and we were both at the back of the group, so there could have been nobody behind us.
And also that large shadow that appeared on the ceiling just by the doorway of that corridor.
Yeah, that's
debunked that, but we couldn't because we're at the far end, so our shadow wouldn't have cast anything down there.
No, the lighting in there was so that it wouldn't. That was sort of back towards that corridor, wasn't it? So there was no way that we could have naturally created.
Well, I actually walked down there, and I had to be right by that entrance for my shadow to be cast. But we were at the far end, so none of us could have cast it.
Yeah.
That was the weird thing. So we couldn't debunk that.
No, I mean, again, the same question, Adam. The True Crime Museum. Is it a good place to go? Is it good value for money? Do you get
definitely? I really enjoyed that. That's probably, with that and Kelvedon, the two best places I've been to.
Yeah, I sort of agree with you. Certainly, the True Crime Museum for me was one of my top three, one of my favourite locations. It's such a great place to go. And if for nothing more, it's right on the coast. So if you get down there early enough, you can have fish and chips on the seafront and enjoy yourself. Looking forward then, is there any location that you would really like to go to? Somewhere UK based that you want to investigate?
Well, I know we got booked in for Oxford Castle still, have we?
That's right, yeah.
I mean, because that's got dungeons and everything. So because I've looked at some pictures of the dungeons and they look quite creepy.
Don't they? Yeah. I mean, Oxford Castle, unfortunately, because of the coronavirus pandemic, we've had to put it on the back burner to next year. We were meant to be going in early November this year. The castle itself is, I think it's like the second oldest castle in the UK. It's well over 1,000 years old. It's been around since sort of way back beyond the medieval ages. It's held members of the Plantagenet royal family prisoner in there. It's seen many battles in the local vicinity, and it is a great location. And we're getting to spend 12 hours locked down in the castle and the prison. So that'll be a really good night. I think that's probably the one I'm most looking forward to as well, to be quite honest, the castle, simply because it's such a vast location. I mean, there's so much you can do there, and that dungeon does look quite eerily inviting, doesn't it?
I'll stay there. I don't mind.
Put me down there. You can sleep in the dungeon on your own for the night. Then.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks for that, Adam. Thanks for joining in.
Sure.
We'll be discussing on our next episode equipment, I think, and our favourite bits of tech. So I know, Adam, your favourite bit of tech from the last show. You like that parabolic speaker, don't you?
Do, unless someone coughs.
It could do your ears in if someone coughs.
Really does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, on our next outing, we'll be discussing equipment, our favourite bits of kit. Hopefully, we'll get some bits out and show them to camera. So, yeah, all good.